Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Book of Kings, where we discuss topics such as history, religion, philosophy, culture, and more, and the way that they all interact with each other. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive a notification every time I release a new video. Hope you enjoy. Hello, everybody. We are back for another video. With my video today, I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach than I usually take. So the topics of my videos usually look at things on more of a social, cultural, historical level. But with today's video, I'm going to look at things on a much more individual, personal level and talk about a subject that I'm sure everybody can relate to. And that is the topic of human suffering. Specifically, why do humans suffer? So in examining this topic and answering this question, the explanation I'm going to give regarding why do humans suffer is based upon a theory called Relational Frame Theory. This theory derives from the broader discipline of behavior analysis. So I could go on at length about behavior analysis, giving you an explanation of what it is and its ins and outs. But for the sake of simplicity, in order to get to our topic today, I'm going to just give you a little brief, a short and sweet description of what behaviorism is. So behaviorism is the perspective that the behavior of all living organisms is determined by the interaction of that organism with the environment. So any behavior that a living organism engages in is determined by what happened before that behavior, generally very immediately before that behavior, and what happened after that behavior. So before the behavior, there's something which kind of was the spark to that behavior or the cause to that behavior that caused it to happen. And after the behavior, there's a consequence that determines how frequently or how often that behavior is going to occur in the future. So generally, if let's say there's a more desirable outcome, that behavior is going to be more likely to occur in the future. If there is an undesirable outcome, that behavior is going to decrease in the future. If, let's say, an individual is engaging in a particular behavior and they have a history of doing it and it gains a certain outcome, but then all of a sudden now the outcome they used to get, they no longer get, well, that behavior will gradually decrease. So that's pretty much the perspective that behaviorists view human behavior through. So I'm going to give you a few examples of this. So let's say you're a hunter-gatherer. You live in the wild, right? And then you're foraging for food. You're hunting and gathering. And then you see a fruit. You haven't seen this fruit before. This fruit, for whatever reason, it piques your curiosity. You pick this fruit, you eat the fruit. And you eat it, and the fruit is sweet. It's delicious. It tastes very good to you. Well, in the future, if you ever see something that resembles that fruit again, you're going to be a whole lot more likely to pick it and eat it. Okay? While on the opposite side of the coin, if you pick a fruit, you eat it, it's bitter, it's disgusting, tastes terrible. Do you think you're going to be very likely to pick it and eat it if you see something that resembles it in the future? Of course not. And also, on the other side of the coin, this is a much more current for our times example. You go to a particular vending machine every day, right? You put in your money, you get a drink, or you get food. Every day you come, put money, get drink, get food. All of a sudden one day, you put your money in there, you don't get it. Well, you might still not give up. Maybe the next day you're going to come and try again. Still don't get it. You might try a few times, few different days, maybe a few times within the same day, but eventually you never get any more food from that vending machine. You're just going to give up. You're not going to go to that vending machine anymore. Okay? Now, we're going to dive into relational frame theory. But in order to really get into relational frame theory, we need to understand a very important concept in behaviorism. And that is the concept of verbal behavior. So hearing that, I think you might already have a pretty good idea what's the gist of that concept of verbal behavior. But in order to give you a really thorough understanding, we need to contrast it with something else, with another concept. And that is what is termed as contingency-shaped behavior. So, contingency-shaped behavior is in essence learning from the consequences of your actions. You engage in behaviors, depending on what happens, there's a particular outcome, and based upon the outcome, that behavior is going to be more or less likely to occur in the future. You learn from your contingencies. So I'm going to give you a little example. Let's take a dog. Dog is wandering around, right? Dog sees a cave. Dog wanders into the cave. And then within the cave, the dog encounters a tiger. And this tiger attacks the dog. Just goes at it full on. Scratches the dog. Dog, for whatever reason, escapes with its life by the skin of its teeth and makes it out of that cave. It's very likely that that dog is never going to go in that cave again. Okay? That dog sees anything that resembles that cave. That dog is not going to go in. The dog is going to learn from the consequence of its actions or its quote-unquote contingencies that that cave is not safe. It has learned that through the consequences of its own behavior, its own learning history. That is contingency-shaped behavior. Now, in contrast, we have verbal behavior. So, verbal behavior, as the name states, is something that can only be learned by organisms that have language, right? It may sound self-explanatory. So, in essence, what verbal behavior is the ability to transfer information regarding your own learning history, your own personal contingencies that you've experienced to other people through language, and the individuals who that information and those contingencies are conveyed to are able to learn from the consequences of those actions that somebody else may have experienced, but they themselves have not. Now let me give you an example of verbal behavior. Take a human. Let's take another kind of a hunter-gatherer, nomad, etc., right? Wanders into the same cave. Encounters the same tiger. Barely escapes by the skin of his or her teeth. That person, just like the dog, is very likely not going to go in that cave again. So that's also contingency-shaped behavior. However, that person then goes to their tribe or their clan or their social group and tells them, hey, listen, there's a cave over there and there's a tiger in that cave and it nearly killed me. I just escaped by the skin of my teeth. Do not, whatever you do, go in that cave. And then, lo and behold, what happens? The members of the clan or the social group, or at least the majority of them, do not go in that cave. So they themselves did not have that same experience that this individual had. They did not go in the cave. They were not attacked by the tiger. They did not have that negative consequence. However, despite having not encountered those same contingencies, those same results, that same situation, they have learned that they should not go in that cave. And that would illustrate verbal behavior. Through language, we're able to transfer our own learning history, our own personal experiences to others, and then the people who that information was conveyed to or transferred to are able to learn the same thing that we did without experiencing the same thing that we did. So that's verbal behavior. So, with verbal behavior, as you may guess, human beings have been able to accomplish great things. We're at the top of the food chain, so to speak. We're the dominant species on the planet. This is no doubt due to our language, due to our verbal behavior, right? It's the way that we were able to organize into social groups. It's the way that we were able to create tools and create strategies and all sorts of things where we can gain a sense of control over our environment, gain the things that we need for our survival, protect ourselves from some of the harshness in reality that was almost a detriment to our survival. So this verbal behavior can accomplish great things. And additionally, through verbal behavior, we're able to assign value to things. We're able to assign arbitrary value to different things within our environment, as well as the way that they interact with one another. We're able to establish quote-unquote relational frames, hence relational frame theory. And again, through this, we also are able to accomplish great things. And it should be noted that because of our language, because we have verbal behavior, this allows us to establish arbitrary value. Had we not had language, had we not had verbal behavior, we would not be able to assign arbitrary value to these various things within our environment, give them certain values regarding various attributes and concepts and their way that they interact with one another. We wouldn't be able to establish these quote-unquote relational frames. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an example further illustrating this. Within the field of behavior analysis, a lot of the concepts and principles were developed through testing with animals, experiments. There's animals, and then the experimenter makes little changes to their environment, and as a result is able to change their behavior and get them to do different things and learn certain things. And this is how, like I said, a lot of the theories and concepts in behaviorism were developed. However, studies have shown that animals can only learn to identify certain objects or items based upon their physical, observable properties. So let me give an example. Studies have shown that you can teach a pigeon that a quarter is bigger than a dime. Studies have shown that you can teach a pigeon that a nickel is bigger than a dime. However, studies have shown that you cannot teach a pigeon that a dime has more monetary value than a nickel. Why? Because this is arbitrary value. There's nothing about a dime that within its physical properties makes it more valuable than a nickel. The value is completely arbitrary, assigned by us, by people, to that coin. And pigeons do not have verbal language, at least not in the same way or to the same extent that we do. Therefore, they cannot assign nor learn arbitrary value. So, as I've said, through our language, we're able to assign arbitrary value. And as we discussed, through our language, including our ability to assign arbitrary value, we've been able to accomplish great things. We've been able to accomplish things which improve our lives, which protect us from a lot of the hardship that certain other species within this world experience. However, this language and this arbitrary value is not without its consequences. It's not without its side effects, per se. Like I said, we can accomplish great things with our ability to establish arbitrary value, but also our ability to assign arbitrary value plays a huge role in why we suffer, specifically why we suffer in ways that certain other living organisms that do not possess language and that cannot assign arbitrary value do not suffer. So, let me give you another example involving animals. You take a dog, and this dog loses its leg. This dog is now a three-legged dog. Well, the three-legged dog, no doubt, has limitations that another dog does not have. This three-legged dog, when it's trying to run, it's trying to jump, it may fall over more, it may slip more, it may trip more. And this dog, when it's slipping and it's tripping, it is, of course, no doubt, experiencing whatever discomfort would naturally come from that. But overall, aside from when the dog may be experiencing a little bit more of a challenging scenario, this three-legged dog is no less happy than any other dog. This dog is just as happy as any other dog, tongue hanging out of its mouth, wagging its tail. This dog is just like any other dog, aside from time to time, it has some physical challenges. Things are a little bit more difficult physically. However, let's take a person and let's give the same scenario. Let's take a person and let's have them lose their leg. So now this person only has one leg. Now this person, no doubt, just like this dog, has physical limitations. This person, no doubt, is encountering situations that are more physically difficult, that are challenging, where they have some form of hardship. However, unlike the dog, in addition to having their physical challenges, this human is going to also experience a significant amount of emotional distress. This human is going to experience all sorts of things, depression, anxiety, etc. This human is going to look and see, look, we have everybody else. They have two legs. I only have one leg. Look at everybody else. They're running, they're jumping, they're playing sports, they're doing all these things, and I can't do that. The human, unlike the organism that does not have language, is going to compare to others. They are going to assign, quote-unquote, arbitrary value. And for that reason, the person who experienced that same loss as another living being without language is going to suffer immensely more because of their ability to assign arbitrary value and compare themselves to others. So, in essence, As I've said, while this language that we have and while this ability to assign arbitrary value that we have can accomplish great things, it also can lead to a lot of the suffering that we have, as we have seen. So now the question is, okay, humans, we have this language. It does good things, but it also comes at a cost. So what do we do about that? What can we do to deal with this predicament that we're in? What can we do to help? Well, that question will be answered in my next video. So hang tight and talk to you soon. Thank you for watching. This has been another Book of Kings video. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive a notification every time I release a new video.